Hey, what's going on? This is Dylan with Dylan Talks Tone. So we just did this whole video about the tools that you would need to repair guitars and do all your maintenance and stuff. Super fun. It was a fun video, really good response. And one of the things we got from that video was people wanted to learn how to use a multimeter. If you're new to repairing guitars, you should have a multimeter. We'll put a link in the description of this video to a very inexpensive but fully functional multimeter that you can use to work on your guitar. It's real important to have one. I get calls all the time and they say, I installed these pickups, maybe they're my pickups, maybe they're somebody else's pickups, or I installed a new pot or a new cap or a new switch or whatever, or my guitar's doing this funny thing. And I say, can you do me a favor and can you check the continuity between here and here? Can you check the resistance of this or that? And they go, well, I don't have a meter. Tool number one to do all of the troubleshooting on your guitar. So look in the link below. If you don't have one, you'll see the current pricing. It's not that expensive. Get one. If you don't have one, get one. Watch this video, get one, and then come back to this video, because what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the shop and I'm going to build a circuit. So we're going to use a Telecaster circuit because it's a volume, a tone, and a three-way switch and two pickups. Very basic, but these concepts that you'll learn from this, you'll be able to move to a Les Paul, because that's basically like two circuits side by side, volume and tone side by side, more or less. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the kind of some of the main troubleshooting things that we see on a daily basis, or we get calls on a daily basis. Hey, my guitar's making this noise. Hey, this pickup's not working. Is it my output jack? Is it my volume pot? Is my tone pot not grounded? All those things. We're going to work from the output jack all the way through to the pickups, and I'm going to show you what to check and how the meter works, because basically you only need a couple of measurements on that whole thing for this to work. So let's run back to the shop, let's build a circuit, and let's get testing. Okay, so I built a circuit, I built a Telecaster circuit, and we're gonna go ahead and get into some troubleshooting, how we troubleshoot kind of some of the main faults that we have in a guitar circuit. We'll get to that in just a minute, but before we do that, I wanna actually show you how to use a multimeter. So I've got the multimeter set up here. Let's go ahead and throw my head in the box and we'll go through some of the main functions of the multimeter, how to use them, and yeah, this will be kind of fun. So let's throw the head in the box and we'll talk about a meter. So here we have, this is a Fluke 115. Most of the less expensive meters will also have these main functions, okay? And we'll talk about what they look like. You don't have to be a super electronic wizard to use one of these. There's just a couple of main things in a guitar that we need to know how to use. So obviously it's off. See that volt right there with the little squiggly? That's going to be for your AC voltage. So that will measure AC voltage there. This will measure DC voltage. We'll see with the flat line there. This will measure in DC and AC millivolts. It switches back and forth by itself. Sometimes I use this measurement when I'm testing the output of a pickup to see if it's actually working. Most people in regular basic guitar, you know, like regular troubleshooting won't use that, but at work I use that. Now this right here, see that looks like Mary Tyler Moore's hair right there? That is actually an ohms symbol, and that is your resistance, and that's what you're going to use 99.9% of the time. We've got a diode checker down here. This is a tone right here where it'll actually beep when you have continuity. I don't actually like to use that much. I use this one right here. We're going to focus mostly on our resistance. We'll talk about that in a minute. This is a diode checker, and this also will measure capacitance. So if you want to test a capacitor, you can use this. And then this is for current readings, which you don't usually use in guitar repair. Current readings get into a little bit more safety stuff. I don't want to get too far into that because, yeah, that's outside of what we're going to talk about today. Again, along with the whole safety situation, just be careful where you stick these things, okay? So let's talk about what we're actually seeing on the meter. See where it says OL? Technically that term means overload, but what it really means for our purposes when we're measuring resistance is that we have an open circuit here, okay? So there's no circuit. It's not connected. Nothing is connected when we see OL right there. This is also handy when you have something that you're trying to test and it has failed. When you know they're supposed to be connected, you're going to see an OL. That means it's not connected. That means something's broken, okay? The connection is broken. That's what OL means. So if we take our 2 meter probes like this, we put them together, and you notice how it says 0.2 ohms right there? I think we can, it's going to measure right at 0. This is a brand new meter. I haven't actually calibrated this now that I sit here and think about it, but you can make this to where this will say exactly 0 and be 100% perfectly on. For the purposes that we're going to use today, this is close enough. What do we see in certain scenarios? So when we talk about something having a short, that means that there's no resistance between it. That means there is a bare wire. That means it's literally just a wire connected, and you put the probe on both ends of it and you get a bare wire. I'll show you a bare wire by just going like this. Let's just take from this end of this wire to the end of this wire, and boom, we got nothing. No resistance, just one wire from one end of the wire to the other end of the wire. That's what it's supposed to look like. That's called a continuity test. When you have a wire that connects one end to the other, continuity. But it could be many other things. For example, in a guitar circuit, you want to have continuity of ground between your shield, between your volume pot, between your tone pot. So if we take our volume pot here and we take our tone pot here, we have continuity. That's good, because if we don't have continuity, and we'll get into that in a minute, the tone pot won't work. Let's see an actual resistance reading, like when we're going to test a pickup. So let's test from the positive of this pickup to ground. 7.37K, which is exactly what it's supposed to be. What if we were to test from the coil split? 3.97K. See what that looks like? That's half the coil, or roughly half. So we know the pickup works. So when you take a resistance reading, you're going from here to here, and there's your resistance. If we take our resistance reading from here to here, it's 0, because it's just continuity. It's just completely a short. Okay. What about a pot? We go from, on a pot, we go from ground to the output of the pot. We'll get to how we do this in a minute. 458K, which is pretty close to 500, which is what it's supposed to be. I don't know if the knob is all the way up or not, but it's pretty close. So if that was a 250K pot, it would be right at 250. And you know it would be good. So now that you understand what you're seeing on the meter, so we're seeing an open, we're seeing a short, or just straight continuity. Like a short is a bad connotation, straight continuity is a good connotation. Same measurement, same thing. One's bad in one situation, one's good in one situation. And then we have an actual resistance reading. So when you call me and you say, I don't think my pickup is working, and I say, get your meter and check the resistance of your pickup from the hot on the switch to ground. Tell me what that number is. That's what I'm talking about. So let's dive deeper and kind of follow the signal through this whole circuit, and that will tell us a little bit more about troubleshooting your guitar. Okay, so I decided, jumping in here, to split this up into 2 videos, because understanding how a meter works, like what we were just looking at, took about 10 minutes, edited, and then it took like a whole nother 10 or 15 minutes to kind of like physically go through the guitar circuit and like follow the signal through and really understand troubleshooting various things and what you would see on the meter. So that's going to be part 2. That's going to come out next week. I already shot it, but it just got so long, we're just going to split it up. But what I want to focus on for this week and really kind of take away from this week is, if you just get a basic meter and you understand what on your meter a short looks like, what a resistance reading looks like, and what an open looks like. That's probably the 3 main things you need to worry about. And on your meter, you know, you might have 0.0000 all the way across. Mine just says like a 0 point something, right? Like you saw in the video. It just kind of depends on the brand of the meter, but 0000. So that's going to be, you know, your continuity or your short, which is the same thing. Short is when it's bad and continuity is when it's good. We'll get into that when we talk about the actual specifics of troubleshooting a circuit. And then of course an open is when something is supposed to be hooked up, but it's not. Sometimes you don't want it to be hooked up. So open, which usually is OL on a meter. And then of course what a resistance reading looks like, right? Like when you're reading a pickup, you're reading a pot, that sort of stuff. Those are probably the main takeaways from that. If you have questions about this, put it in the comments because we want to dive deeper into some of this stuff. So if you have questions, that's what's going to drive this. If you're interested in this, I like making these kind of videos. This is really fun. So put them in the comments and we'll do it. Okay. Also, if you don't want to mess with any of this, remember that at Dylan Talks Tone, we do all of this pre-wired stuff. So like if you have a Telecaster, if you have a Strat, if you have a Mustang, if you have, you know, a Les Paul, it doesn't matter. I don't care. Shoot me an email and I'll just build you a preset wiring harness that you can just drop in your guitar and you can just go and you don't have to worry about it. However, I think it's still important to learn the skills to use the meter, because if you have a problem hooking it up, or if you have a problem in the future, or if you want to modify it and you call me and try to troubleshoot stuff, I'm going to ask you those questions and I'm going to have you troubleshoot it for me, and you're going to need to learn how to use a meter. So either way, learning how to use a meter is a good thing. Let's go over some questions from viewers before we let you go. Okay, Sarah Waters commented on our capacitors, paper and oil versus poly, you know, like orange drop. A lot of us came here to listen to the capacitors, and I thought you didn't like the fact that capacitors are not important. Then you wasted my time with capacitor mumbo jumbo for about 8 minutes, painstaking minutes straight. There's a video out there from a guy, you know the guy, Burgundy Casino, blah, blah, blah. This video is super helpful, but you are not. You also put too much effort and detail into the room you did the video in. Some additional waste. Most of us are trying to get the right tone. Okay, Sarah, so here's the thing. First of all, that video was not about tone. That video was about the physical construction of a capacitor, and does that make a difference? Technically, the math and the science of it, because tone is subjective, math is not. And so putting that into a video so that you understood the actual construction, how the thing works, because you're going to hear what you want to hear. You're going to believe what you want to believe. People have made that particular argument into an absolute religion. So you're going to believe what you want to believe. So to separate that and put the science and the math into it and basically say it doesn't make a difference on paper and the numbers, I don't care what you believe in the end. I'm just telling you the truth of it with the math. Okay, so that's what that was about. It wasn't about tone. It was about the physical construction and the math behind it. And I appreciate somebody who does a video who has a bunch of capacitors and does that stuff. That's just a different video. In fact, we do a different video on this kind of stuff. That just wasn't this video. As far as putting too much effort and detail into the room I do the video in and not being concentrated enough on tone, of course, that's a subjective thing. And to be honest, I don't care what you think about that. Obviously now I don't care. I'm sitting on a deck in the backyard. I love to shoot video. And so whatever I'm in the mood for, creatively, I focus on that for my own self. That's not for you. I enjoy shooting video. I've enjoyed shooting video since I was a kid. And so the level of creativity, sometimes I'm kind of lazy and I just sit at a desk and I talk. Sometimes I get really creative and we use a drone, whatever I'm in the mood for. I don't care. I hate to say I don't care what the viewer thinks, but the creative parts of what I do are for me. I really enjoy, I'll answer your questions and we'll address your questions in videos, but the creative part of the video, that's for me. I really love to do that. So I don't really care that you don't like it. Let's see, Joseph Turcos. I've been thinking about modifying my Squier Telecaster. I wasn't sure if it was worth it. However, after watching the video, I'm going to do it. It will be my first modification and I can't wait to get started. I appreciate your influence. We're going to buzz through these and here's why. Tony Sirit says, thanks Dylan, I'm going to bite the bullet and buy this stuff. test stuff after our last video and tools. No longer will I take it to guitar shops who won't be as OCD about the repair as I will. Thanks for that, because that is why I do this. It's not to argue about stuff. It's about encouraging people to be creative. And if somebody says, you know what, I learned a thing from a video and I'm gonna go learn to do this myself, and you know, like furthering their hobby, right? Like that is so cool to me, and I really, really appreciate comments like that. And after that last video, we got a bunch of them. People are like, please teach me more so I can do this stuff myself. I'll go buy the tools. I'll invest myself in this hobby. I will do that. You know, it wasn't just the normal arguing on the internet stuff, and that's what I'm talking about. You can tell I'm already excited, because that's what gets me excited about making videos. So that's what we're gonna do, and I really appreciate it so much. Do me a favor, put your stuff in the comments, add to the conversation, be nice to each other, like be nice. This is really fun, man. I wanna make the next video. So next Monday, we're gonna talk about running through the guitar circuits. It's gonna be awesome. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next week.